you witnessed it firsthand, how difficult it is to eliminate this team. I mean, you go back to the Brooklyn series, they seemed like they were dead in the water. You guys get up on them. They were down 2-0 against Phoenix. What is it about Milwaukee that's so tough to beat them 4 times?
Yeah, they're a really deep team. And I feel like they got a lot of guys that right now, like sacrificing, just guys who their roles right now on this Bucks team probably aren't what they would be if they're on a different team. And someone I think of firsthand is like Brook Lopez. Giannis goes out and Brook Lopez gives us 30. And the next game, it's, he was like a big part of our series. And Bobby Portis, it seems like every time he gets big minutes, he produces big time. And then you have their big 3 of Giannis, Jrue, and Khris that are so tough. But I just really kind of feel like their team as a whole, they got a lot of really good guys. And even when guys get out, guys that they can plug and play and step in and play big minutes for them. And I mean, Giannis by himself, this. Every time you play Giannis, it's everyone all build a wall. So it's when you're focusing 3 guys on one person, obviously it's a lot easier for other guys to go off. So they're really just kind of a complete team. Defensively, they started out in their deep drop with Brook kind of in the paint, and then with us they started switching everything. And now in this Phoenix series, they went back to the drop. So I feel like they can switch it out. They can do a lot of different things, and a team that's kind of been through it. So they were tough for us. We got 2 wins out of them, 2 wins against them, but they're a really tough team, obviously.
Obviously, you guys both know this, but I feel like some casual fans may not have known Khris Middleton before this run. But can you talk about even just Khris Middleton in the last 2 minutes of games? And he did this against you guys. He obviously did it against the Nets, and he's done it a few times in this final so far. Where this guy, he seems to have like another gear that when it gets to that point, it's like you really want that guy with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, he just gets hot. He gets to kind of points in games where he just feels like he gets unconscious, where he's a tall guy. He fades away a little bit on every shot, and when he gets going, he's tough to stop. I think it was game 3 in our series. Sorry, we were playing at home. It was a 1-1 series, and he had, I think, 20 in the fourth quarter, something like that, where it just felt like everything he was shooting was going in. And for them, again, kind of in this national stage, I think at this point on their team, and it wasn't like this the last couple of years, it feels like he's their closer. He's kind of their guy that they give to go get a bucket right now at the end of games. And he did that all, against us in our series, and obviously he's done that against Phoenix. But he's a guy that can get really hot and kind of get to any shot he wants at any time.
Bud has empowered him. He's given him great freedom to just sort of take any shot. And a lot of their offensive creation runs through him. It runs through that 2-man game with Giannis. But to your point, he's absolutely their closer. And some of this is the knock on Giannis, right? I was having this conversation the other day with a gentleman who asked me, if you're starting a team right now for the future in the NBA, are you picking Giannis? He was dead set, like, you got to pick Giannis. You got to pick Giannis. And my question to him was, is Giannis a closer? Giannis will have 40, 18, and 9 tomorrow probably. But when it comes down to we need a bucket, the Bucks run everything through Khris. You brought up the drop coverage because we've talked drop coverage ad nauseum about this on the podcast. But one of the knocks on Bud has been that he hasn't been able to make adjustments at times in playoff series, and kudos to him. I think they've done it throughout, specifically starting in the Brooklyn series where they started really matchup hunting, which is not something he's traditionally done on offense. They started doing that. They've mixed up their defensive coverages. But I want to go back to something you said about Brook Lopez, where in your series, he had an opportunity to step up and have a big game. The other night, he took 6 shots or something like that. Your first playoff series or playoff run, I think you've kind of figured this out, like series to series, unless you're Trey, unless you're Luka, series to series, your role can shift depending on the team that you're playing against and depending on the matchups.
Yeah, no, it 100% can. And Brook, I think, is the number one guy for that. And I think just kind of their whole team in general. I mean, Bryn Forbes in that Miami series, he was arguably the Bucks' best player. And kind of just a big reason why they swept is he got hot, and his minutes kind of haven't been the same since. I feel like that's a big reason why the Bucks are so good. But it really is like series to series. Our team, unfortunately, we were hurt a lot in the playoffs, so we didn't have as much of the personnel to plug and play like these other teams do, where we can kind of keep switching up lineups. But No, they were, in terms of the Bucks and their defensive coverage, I mean, game one, I think when Trey had his 40 whatever game and his shimmy and whatever, they were in their drop coverage all game. He was able to get to his floaters. And then I believe game two, I think they stayed in drop coverage, and when we came back to Atlanta is when they switched. And they started switching everything, which against us was really effective. And I think they stayed in the switch game one, at least in the Phoenix series. Maybe it was game two. I didn't notice. And Book and Chris Paul kind of had their way with switching on a big. So, but it's definitely changed. Like you said, series to series in these playoffs, that's kind of the first thing I noticed, that every team starts to play a different way than obviously they did in the regular season. Just such a different game.